recording now. And I'm getting rid of some stuff on the top here that doesn't need to be there. And then I think we're sort of good. I got one more thing. I'm going to full screen and getting rid of that. So we're still recording.
Doing very well.
Yes, I'm learning so much. So
Baptism under fire.
I'm doing everything. I'm going to call this regular meeting of the Public Site and Building Commission to order at 7:03. Please join me in the pledge. Our flag's over there. If you don't have a flag, see what you can do. Pledge allegiance
To the flag.
United States of America.
And
to the republic which stands
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
So, Kathy, our usual recording secretary, is unable to be here tonight, which is why I'm kind of filling in. I'm doing minutes, running the meeting, and playing with all that stuff up on the screen all at the same time. Huh? Multitasking, right?
Climbing Everest.
Gotta make my, she's not climbing Everest quite yet. I think she might wait till next year on that. So just quickly, because I'm going to say who's here. So here in the room, I'm Nancy Ryan. I'm chair of the building commission. We have Dave Horvath, Dave Wilson, Roy Steiner, John Menti, all part of the commission. Bob Durkin is with us on the Google Meets. He is our ad hoc member from the police department. Jen Burial is with us too. She's got an important title with the Board of Ed, business manager. Mark Dupre from STV. What? Say that?
Do you want me to say it? Director of Finance and Business Operations.
Director of Finance and Business Operations. You should tell that to everyone because everyone needs to know that.
It doesn't fit on a business card, though. Two-sided card.
Yeah, two-sided card. Mark Dupre from STV, and joining us for the first time, Michael Dwayne from STV, who's going to be working with us on the HVAC upgrades. So a couple of things, and just remind me sometimes when I'm doing meetings that I tell everybody who's on the screen, who's here in the room, and who's here in the room, who's on the screen, so we know who everybody is. I don't believe we have any public, so public input and correspondence, we can go on to the next. Approval of meeting minutes. And so I will make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes from August 14th, 2024.
Second.
Roy seconds. Let's hear.
Abstain.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dave Wilson needs to abstain and Menti.
I was on vacation.
Thank you. So a couple of things before we move into our old business, just some sort of general things. We still do not have a seventh member of the commission. The Board of Selectmen has not appointed anybody. I don't know if they've identified anyone. So again, if anybody here comes up with a name, let's get that to the Board of Selectmen so they can check the person out and we'll get somebody else with us. Bob Durkin retired from the police, the Bethel Police Department. When was it 2 weeks ago, Bob? Putting him on the spot.
Yeah, it was the 19th.
19th. So congratulations on that. However, as Bob is still a Bethel resident, he's going to continue with us as part of the training range while we just finish up the couple of invoices. We'll do one tonight. We have a few others, which I'll update everyone when we get into old business. But Bob's going to stay with us and attend while he can and while we finish everything up. So thank you, Bob, for doing that.
And we convinced Lieutenant Durkin to be a permanent member from
We
the
can
second
ask.
building committee.
We can ask. We might ask. We'll see. I'll ask him. Not now. I'm not here for the next meeting, which is on September 11th. Are you able to be here? And
I'm not here either.
you're not here either.
Let me check. I will tell you in a moment. Probably won't be here for the following. September 11th. Um, yes, I'll be here.
Okay,
Yes.
so if Bob Durkin can join us along with John Perna, you should be good. But we'll have to be figuring that out when it's time to start putting out the agenda later next week. So we'll keep track of that because
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we'll have some training range business to deal with, and hopefully we'll be getting into coming up with a contractor for the HVAC. So everybody can just,
We'll go over training range stuff tonight too, correct?
yeah, we will. We'll do some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yes, yeah, that's our first old business thing, but I just wanted to get the general stuff out of the way first. So again, I won't be here next meeting on the 11th. John will run the meeting and we'll just make sure John gets all the info he needs. I keep including him on all the emails. So if I get something from someone that doesn't have you included, I'll make sure it gets over to you.
All right.
Okay. So moving into old business, police station training range. As a general update, I had emailed, I was away, and then I emailed Chris Baldwin when I got back to see where he was with the CO because I had not heard anything. And he replied basically that he has, his intention is to issue the CO, he just hasn't finished all the paperwork. He's been busy. So with that in mind, we know there are certain things that we need to still be checking into, and that will make a determination as to which invoices we deal with, which we do not. We have invoices from Downs, from Action Target, and from ESC. Downs we'll deal with tonight. Action Target, I'll explain a little bit about that later. Same with ESC. So I don't have a budget review because we're still working on getting those final invoices. There's, like, we did one for CES last week, or last meeting. And then CES has one final invoice that we'll get, but that will happen a little later on because they're doing their whole year through every season review of all the commissioning of all the equipment. So we'll be waiting on that. I did run into Chief Hugner a few weeks ago here at the Municipal Center, and he was, you know, no problems. Everything seems to be working as everybody needs. So that's a good thing. The Action Target invoice, we'll go over that a little later because it's incorrect. And the ESC invoice, I just got it yesterday afternoon and I haven't had time to check it because there's some things, and I think we'll get into that in a few minutes, that are we on the makeup air unit running automatically to set points? Do you?
Well, it's funny you should ask.
Oh, funny, I should ask.
Mark sent me a great email the other day, or today, whatever it was, and it's all about the Aon controller. Now I know about Aon, I worked with them for 20 years.
Right.
I call, John Perna gave the name of a gentleman who works at Aerocon Corp, who is the Aon rep in this area that John uses. Small world, they have a guy out of New York, close by in Mayapack. Then I already read through this all day. You can program night setback and everything through the unit. You don't need ECS.
Okay,
Yes, you do
Yes.
not need them.
right,
Everything go right through the unit like I thought it could.
okay,
Here's the funny part. The gentleman that they're going to use, that if we have him come out, we agree to have him come out and program it, I've known for 24 years.
okay,
This guy is crazy smart when it comes to control stuff.
okay,
He does this for a living. He's been doing it. He's 8 years old, I think. But he said, absolutely, we can get all the night setbacks, whatever we want programmed into it. And I have all this stuff here, which again, Mark sent me a very detailed sheets. And we don't need any other DMS or anything
okay,
unless we want alarms to go out. Other than that, which we can do through this, we can tie this system into the back net for ESC without them taking, how they all said they have to take over the control and everything.
right,
They don't.
okay,
We can send them alarms. We can send them dozens of alarms. We can send them 3 alarms, 5 alarms. We just send everything to them through BACnet protocol. Very simple, very easy.
so it can be done so that we have set points, hot and cold.
Yep.
It goes on automatically.
Yep.
No one's got to go in there physically and turn it on, turn it off. That's what we want.
That's what we talked about
Is it
since
an
day one.
extra cost?
Yes, I told him, I don't know. I said I had to go through the board.
Yep.
And everybody had to vote on it. I don't know. Probably for him to come out, we're talking probably half a day. I would just throw in the crazy number out there, say $1,200.
Okay,
All right?
Yeah.
Have them come out, do the programming.
right,
The other great thing about it is
right.
this module rests in the unit. We can buy a unit that actually sit in the range,
Yeah.
ties in, goes to the range itself,
Okay,
and without having a computer come out and plug in every time,
right.
we can actually go, or the police department can actually make settings if we give them passwords.
Uh-huh.
They can actually do all the changes themselves.
Okay, so if they need to do that,
Right. I
Right,
mean, I
that's-
wouldn't imagine they would,
right,
but it's nice to have that option. And that's something I would have them price out, obviously, and tell us the cost.
right, because most of the
You-
town buildings are
You
set up.
you should be able to access it remotely too, through the network, if it's attached to the network.
Exactly. That's where I was gonna go next, Michael. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
exactly where I was gonna go next.
Right, because most town buildings are like that.
They're
So I
all
would-
on, yeah,
I would often get a phone call day before an election saying, what time you gonna get there, what time we need to shut, turn
Mhm.
things on, whether it's air conditioning or
right. So,
heating, and what time you're gonna need to shut it down. So,
I mean, the
because
issue
it's
with-
automatic otherwise.
Right.
When school starts, when, the building opens or whatever.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if we're there at 5 a.m, you got to start it earlier. So this can do the same thing, where
Oh,
remotely
that's-
you should be able to, yes.
instead of rocket to
Yeah.
the moon with this.
So now, I guess what we're gonna need, Mark, is some sort of, well, you and I will have to figure out a budget update so we can see what we have left in the budget if this is gonna be an additional cost. Now, my other question is, was this something that we asked ESC to do
Mhm.
and they didn't?
Yeah.
And if it is, and it's covered under their proposal,
I
I don't
would
know, Mark,
say,
if you know
I
that.
would say, I believe it was as specified by Action Target and Kohler Ronan. I spoke to John Fusco, Kohler Ronan today, and he was less, he wasn't unhelpful, but he wasn't really willing to come out and look at it and give us some recommendations, which is kind of what I was pushing for.
Right, but Kohler Ronan didn't design the MAU, Action Target.
No, but somebody have the controls and tell ESC what to do.
Right, okay.
So it sounds like it was part of the original scope of works, so ESC should be getting back charged, no?
That's my remembrance of it. And, Mark and I have talked about this.
Right,
dozens of
so,
times.
and there are people who are remembering meetings where we talked about, being told that that having it run this way would use up more filters, but we'd rather pay for filters than having a system go down or have the sprinklers freeze or any of that.
Right.
And so is it in what we asked ESC to do? And how do we find that? Because I don't know if I have it. I'd have to look and see. And so that would be Evan, asked ESC to give us a proposal. What did he ask us to give us a proposal on? Do we have something written somewhere?
We
that we
can,
can check?
Mike and I can double check with them. I don't believe we ever specifically asked them to do that. We were at the meeting with Kohler Ronan and the architects. And we assumed that they were going to give that direction. I think that's probably where the breakdown was.
Could be because initially Kohler Ronan was designing the MAU, and when Action Target took over and was given that task
Right,
as
right.
part of what they were doing, not just designing and manufacturing and installing the range equipment, but also the MAU. Did somebody miss something? Because Kohler Ronan was no longer designing the MAU. But we should check into
Mark.
that, because it's being covered by someone else, we ought to get it covered by someone else.
Mark, per your conversation today with Kohler Ronan, didn't they say it was in the original scope of work?
They said they originally were doing the design, but it was taken over by Action Card.
Yep.
So they backed away at that point.
Yep.
And I think that's why it fell through the crack. Because when we had our meeting 18 months ago, we assumed that Kohler Ronan was given to either Action Target and or ESC. And I don't think they gave anybody that.
Yeah. And you're right. So I think we need to look into, so the two things, was it supposed to be part of ESC's scope of work controls? Was it supposed to be, and this comes through Action Target, was it supposed to be part of that Aon unit and and the manufacturing of it and the controls of it? Because we never got to talk to or even anything with Aon through Action Target. John Perna had to kind of skirt around Action Target to get in contact with Aon to find out what was going on. So it was Performance Mechanical was the company that did the installation. Do we check on that? And then we're going to need to look at the budget before we make any agreements on further expenditures. I still think we're around $3,000 contingency, but we should check on that.
And I'll have them send me, I'll talk to them tomorrow morning and have them just put a quote together.
Mhm.
One for coming out programming it, two for the separate controller.
Yeah.
As two
Is it-
separate entities.
If the controls are out on the MAU, isn't that going to be, if the thermostat, so to speak, is on the MAU outside, is that going to be different than if we had one in the room? Should we have one in the room?
It depends on how you control it. If you can control it off of return error, then no.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
But we could look into
It's not gonna be a
separate
huge-
amounts
yeah, it's not gonna be a
and
huge
figure out what,
difference.
okay. Okay.
but so,
Okay.
you know, and that's my own fault because I've been slacking on this. There is no actual sensor in the range.
I think not, is what I'm remembering. But we're gonna have to ask somebody who knows.
Okay. Please.
There's some kind of sensor because the set points were supposed to set off an alarm. They're
Right.
not supposed to start the unit, but there is supposed to be an alarm. There's supposed to be a list of people that get that alarm who then will go into the building and turn the thing on.
Okay.
That's too awkward,
So it's two separate systems.
I think, but.
Yep. No, it sounds like it is.
Ask on that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
again, Action Target's not real easy to.
Nope.
You know, you can email them and ask them or
I
call them
Honestly, I think I just have to go there.
and I think if you,
The target's a dark hole.
yeah, I think if you work with the Aon people, it's gonna be a lot easier than trying to go through it.
Yeah, I just think, actually, I just really.
Yeah, so I would talk to the Aon rep if you have contact there to see who they work with at Action.
Yep.
To see how they got their scope of work or whatever. Something sounds funny, fishy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and so Michael, just a quick history, Action Target, you know, designs, manufactures and installs firing and shooting range equipment.
Mhm.
They don't usually do the HVAC or the makeup air units or whatever. When they're asked to, it's my assumption that they hire a subcontractor to do the plans and then a company, whoever they use, whether it's Aon, Dakin, whoever we decide, to do the rest of it, which is kind of how it went with us. And so some of that makeup air unit stuff got lost and fell between the cracks a few times because they sent a giant truck out with the makeup air unit on it and we weren't expecting it. There was no crane to pick it into place. They just shipped it. So it had to get, yeah, we'll tell you about it another time. So anyways, your expertise on this could be helpful as we get all this sorted out.
HVAC is in my blood. My family owned a HVAC company for 30 years, so.
Okay, good.
You and I get along very well, Michael.
Yes, we will. My old man was a plumber, and my uncle was a tin knocker, so.
All
There
right,
you go.
got it all covered. Okay, so everybody's got what they need to do, and I will be checking emails and stuff throughout next week to make sure everything goes where it has to go, so everybody knows what they need to do for the next meeting. So again, Mark, we're gonna need to see if we can come up with an updated budget. I can ask finance for a spreadsheet of what's been paid so far. So that's a place to start. And then we see what's,
That would be helpful. We could do what we have and what you guys have. Just to make sure
Yeah.
it's not-
right, what's outstanding. So with the invoices, as I said, we have a couple invoices hanging out there. One, I did send a couple out to everyone. The ESC, which is apparently their final invoice, but we're gonna wait, we're gonna check on that, because I'm not sure if it's the total amount. I picked it up, it was sitting here yesterday waiting for me, so I picked it up, I haven't gotten into checking it. Action Target, which I sent around to everyone too, has a, not sure if I printed that, but it's it's kind of a scope of work, or schedule of values actually. And it shows again, as we've discussed, a change order in the amount of $4,700 for additional moving of equipment. Not something they ever presented to us, not something that we approved. We have no written documentation on any of it, what it means, etc. So my plan is to work with Mark. We're gonna come up with like a letter that shows original contract amount, what the actual change orders, the ones that we've approved. So there was a change order on the MAU and then a credit for that we approved and that they accepted for having to deal with the sprinkler heads when they went messing around with those. And then how many payments we've done already. So what we actually owe them. And we can bring that to the next meeting and approve that amount, include that letter with the payment. If we think that that's the best way to go about it. Mark, I don't know if you are thinking another way of going about it, of trying to contact them to have them send us another invoice, or whether we just.
No, I say what we should do, pretty much exactly what you said. Double check their invoices, what we have recorded, pay them for what we owe them with the exception of the change order. And I'd be happy to write a letter that states that this was not an approved change order. And the cost that they're requesting was caused by them and should not be an issue the town of Bethel should be responsible for.
Right. Because that was
If they don't know how to deliver materials,
Right.
that's on them. That's not on them.
Right, because they showed up, there's another time when they showed up to deliver, I think it was some of their range equipment. And they didn't tell anybody they were coming and no one knew exactly where it was supposed to go. And so they ended up just leaving it and then they had to move it. So that's not on us, it's on them. So
No.
you and I will work on a letter and then we'll bring that to the next meeting, and we have our CO in place, then we'll go with that.
Okay, good plan.
So we're waiting on ESC, we're waiting on the ATI invoice, those two invoices, and the Downs, this is all their retainage, so I think we ought to go ahead with it. So I will make a motion that we approve Downs Construction application for payment number 9. And it's the retainage amount that's due to them in the amount of $18,923.83. I sent this out several weeks ago. It's got all the attachments of all your retainage information.
I'll second it.
John seconds it, and I don't have a way to put it on the screen because I can't do both of these things. So if you need to look at any of this or need any info out of it, let me know and I'll get that.
And this finishes down.
So it's balance to finish is 0.
Beautiful.
Yep, and they've been waiting 2 months for this.
Yes.
So
They
we're
were
waiting
pretty
for-
good with that.
Yes. Anything anyone else wants to know about this, or we're ready to go, good to go? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is anyone opposed? We are done with that. Thank you. All right, so anything else on the range that we need to cover or deal with? Any questions that anyone has? Or are we good to move on? Good. Thank you, Bob Durkin. We'll see you hopefully next time because we may need you to help get some things passed.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Bob.
No problem.
Yep. So next on the agenda, Rockwell and Johnson Schools. I don't believe we have any updates on the audit, because it's still kind of in the hands of Office of School Construction. Jen?
Well, I can tell you that Dr. Carver complete the, sorry, is it echoing?
Go ahead.
Dr.
there's some
Carver is
feedback.
working to kind of paperwork.
Okay.
And so we're in the process of doing that. But everything's going well. There's no issues at this time.
So is it additional paperwork from what you had submitted with the extra, the stuff that Geraldine helped you with? That was extra, possible extra reimbursement for change orders that are that were not going to initially be covered?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you submitted what they asked for, and then we're just waiting again.
I don't think it's submitted yet. I think it will be submitted very soon.
Okay. And I don't think there's anything else. I have an invoice, but I don't think there's anything else that we have. Budget hasn't changed, but it will with this invoice. So we may have to have a budget update at our next meeting. And this is an invoice from STV as Geraldine was working on the audit. So I will make a motion that we approve STV invoice number 90031947 dated August 23rd, 2024 for Rockwell School in the amount of $728.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds. So again, Geraldine, a few hours of working on the audit and getting some paperwork together for that. Questions?
Well worth.
Definitely. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Done with that.
We still have remaining budget on that.
Yes, we do have, I don't know, about a couple thousand, I think, looks like. Yeah, a couple thousand. So for both schools, you're gonna just use this because the invoice we approved last meeting was for specifically the level spreader and the amount of time spent on that for Johnson. So you didn't, actually it wasn't an invoice. It was we did the
change order. We had the contract value.
Yes, right. And so I think I sent that to you. When I got back, I had
Yes.
I had a copy and that was filed. So I sent that to you. You've got it. Now we'll get an invoice next time probably.
Right. Well, probably end of.
Okay. So we'll wait till then on that.
How did the level spreader do with the rain?
I was just gonna ask that.
Because I drove up there
Yeah.
and I didn't want to go down because the gate was closed, so it was still raining. But that pond was full.
The retention pond?
Oh, it
The
was,
100-year
Yeah.
pond.
it
Yeah.
was full.
Say, look, got 99 more years. Don't worry about that.
Well, I actually drove north out of here the day of the rain, so I didn't get a chance to get
That's
up
right.
there.
Yeah, I drove over there on
And I
Sunday.
guess we could check in. I don't know if anybody,
We're up.
Tyler or anybody
He was
checked
a
that.
99-year.
I can run up there.
Just look like in the
Nine.
tomorrow and check it. But I was thinking about it, so I was like, this has gotta be, if there's water gushing anywhere. it's
I think we
gotta
would
be
have heard about it. I'm sure there's a problem.
Well, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, but nobody goes back there, so no one went back
When the
there.
neighbors said something.
Neighbors are kind of up on the hill a little
Okay.
bit. If they,
Maybe we'll take a walk
some
back
of
there
them
this
have,
weekend.
some of them
For the
have
second
little
thing.
chairs and stuff down there. So they went down, they saw something. I'm sure they would say something, but we'll check. Some of us, somebody will check. I'll
We'll walk,
check.
we'll walk.
We could check it, Tyler, if he doesn't
Yeah,
walk
take a walk
around.
down this weekend.
Yeah. We'll all take a walk this weekend. But that would be good to know. It would be good. It would have been good to know. And you can actually, you don't have to, if the gate's closed, all you do is park in front of the gate, school's out and walk down there. But
Yeah,
it'll be a walk.
it was in the middle of the breeze.
Oh, it was in the middle of the rainstorm. Don't walk that down there in the middle of the
I was
rainstorm.
curious.
But it would be good to check that, yeah. Okay, I don't think we have anything else on the schools, so we'll move into the BHS HVAC upgrade. So I know that the STV contract is in the works. There's some things that a town attorney wanted to have spelled out differently, and so she's been back and forth with Mark about that. Jen had requested, I sent an email out and got a few responses. Jen wants to put together a meeting with whoever from the Board of Ed, probably Jen, Tyler, Dr. Carver if needed. A few people, well, STV. So Michael is going to be our top person on the job for this project. Okay. And so we'd hope that Michael would be at that meeting and Mark if needed. Geraldine's going to be helping with the paperwork parts of it, office of school construction. So she's very versed in all of that. That's good to know. And also a couple of public site people. I don't think it needs to be me because I'm not versed in HVAC. I think both Davids had said they would like to. Haven't heard anything from John Perna, but school is starting and he's been kind of gotten his nose into all of that. So I think he's quite busy with it. So I think, Jen, if you're going to set up a meeting, we'll just say that it's going to be David Horvath and David Olson.
Okay.
But you're going to let all of us know. And if one other person is interested, that's okay. It can't be two because that'd be a quorum. And we could do that and call a meeting, but I don't know as we would, I don't need to, you don't need to. If it's John Perna, that would be great if he has time.
Let me see if I can get
Yeah. He had said, John Perna had said he knew he wouldn't be here tonight because it's the first day of school and he'd be
right.
swamped with everything. But if you can set something up, because I think, Jen, what we would like to do is have the information in place so that we can approve somebody at the next meeting. Is that what we're thinking?
Yes, the September 11th meeting, and I think you make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, if I'm not wrong.
Yes. So that's interesting because we did make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to hire STV. And I can check on this again. I always go back and forth with the administration about once the money is approved, don't we just get to do, of course, if Dan's signing it, he probably wants to, well, we need to have everything reviewed by town attorney.
Yes.
But if it has to go to the Board of Selectmen, we'll send that recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. And their next meeting, I think, would probably be that following week. If we're on the 11th, then Board of Selectmen would be that following Tuesday, which is how it worked with our last meeting.
Mhm.
Where we approved, and then the next Tuesday, Board of Selectmen met to, and approved. I read the minutes and they did approve what we sent to them through the procurement committee. Because the procurement committee kind of gets involved a little too. They basically are just stamping it. So if we meet here, yes, Board of Selectmen would theoretically meet on the 17th. And then we would get into contracts, et cetera. Because the amounts are, I guess we're going to need to be looking at, and this is what you would do in the meeting, David, and everybody else, looking at the quotes and the alternates and what can be done, what can't be done. How much do we have to either cut out or change so that we stay within that referendum amount? Because I think we have to look at the referendum amount is the contractor, owner's rep, commissioning, and I'm not sure what else, if there's any special testing that's going to need to be done. Because that was one of the things that was talked about in both RFPs for owner's rep and for the contractor about if they're drilling holes. And there were a lot of questions that were asked. So if you went and looked at all that, you'll see that can we drill holes in the wall? So there's going to be some testing that's going to have to be done. And if
All the abatement work is the responsibility of the mechanical contractor. So that's included in their quote.
So that should be included in their quote. That's what I understood, but when I read it, but I wanted to make sure. So yeah, that's good. So then we don't need to have a separate amount for special testing. They should be handling that. And I can't think of any other, I think we should look at Mark and Michael. We'll look at the budget and make sure that we're covering everything that needs to be covered for the project, that we don't need to leave anything out, because that's going to have very direct effect on the amount we can spend on the contractor. Right?
And also, in addition to being mindful of the budget, one of our goals is to analyze the bids to make sure that the bidders are qualified, that they've met all the requirements of the bid package, that they've included all the proper scope in their estimates, et cetera.
Yes, definitely. And that if there's some of the material, like the VRF boxes, don't they have to be some sort of proprietary contractor for manufacturer of those, something like that?
That actually had to be concerned with one of the contractors, they were just carrying dealer.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like,
Yeah.
that might create a problem.
Right.
that's one thing that just caught my eye. And I was just doing some research online
right?
with, with the contractors. And
Yeah. Well-
I did have some concerns, so.
I think it would be okay if any of us, as we were reading through the proposals, if we have any concerns, just kind
Yeah,
of let,
That's,
Jen know, or Michael or these guys, if they're gonna be at
That's
the
what I thought,
meeting and you're
yeah.
not gonna be at the meeting. These are my concerns. Let's make sure.
that's what I thought. I'll just email you a couple of things that I saw.
Okay. So Jen was gonna put together a Google Meets, something. David, is that something that would have to be at night for you, or David Horvath? Because you're free during the day mostly.
It depends on the day, to be honest with you.
Okay. So maybe Jen
Dave-
put out a couple of times. Michael?
Did you look at the, numbers?
Say that again?
David, did you look at the bid numbers?
I have not seen anything yet, no.
So number one and number two, they're like 150 grand apart,
Right.
which kind of scares me a little bit. And then I'm very surprised just to see three mechanical contractors bid this job.
I'm not.
No, you don't. Not in Bethel.
Surprised.
And then
there
there's-
weren't more, or surprised-
I'm very surprised there wasn't more, to be honest. But again, it could be a Bethel thing or something. I don't know.
Well, the other thing too is, Michael, with what I've been dealing with is the town has a contract with ESC for everything, right? They're doing
controls.
the
and-
HVAC and the controls. They monopolized everything, which I do not agree with in any way, shape or form. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. But that's the other thing is contractors, and I talked to actually Tucker Mechanical, who I know was asked to bid. And
Yeah, my uncle works for Tucker.
what's that?
My uncle works for Tucker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've been working with Tucker for quite a few years now.
All wheel lock. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is. So basically, they told me, if they're not going to get anything more out of it, it's tough to work for towns, any municipality, right? But if they're not getting anything more out of it, service contract and everything, they really don't want to bid on it because it's a one and done, and then they don't get anything after the fact. So it's not like worth their while in a sense, is what they're saying.
I mean, so with Tucker, because they're a big service contractor, I agree. But with some of these other guys who don't do a lot of service, I'm just
Right.
surprised they didn't bid the job. I was surprised to see that there wasn't a mandatory walkthrough because it's existing conditions. So I'm definitely worried about.
Like,
smoke.
we went out to bids multiple times and had previous mandatory walkthroughs. So people that did bid had been to other walkthroughs, and actually we had a very strong showing at our option walkthrough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look at everything and I'll just share based off of, what I see, and then you guys could let me know, take what you like and leave the rest, right? Just want to make sure I protect the town as much as possible.
Yeah. But I think your input will be helpful. Dr. Carver did send out an email a couple of weeks ago with the three proposals attached. I think you can also find them at the town website as part of the procurement committee minutes from whenever that was, end of August. And then
I
they,
just found the prices here. I didn't find.
not the full proposal. Oh, well, procurement committee minutes show like a little spreadsheet sort of thing with the amounts. But then the actual proposals, I think Dr. Carver emailed to us as attachments, and then I'm guessing they should be at the shared drive, and if they're
They're on
not,
the shared drive, correct?
they're on the shared
They
drive.
are, okay.
There's a Bethel High School shared drive. And then, so the shared drive, there's the schools, the police department, the firing range, and
My
HVAC.
old email address, that's why I'm not seeing it.
Oh, we should check on that. All right. Let me check that. Because I can resend it, because I did
Yeah, I-
kind of,
for some reason I couldn't get to the full
Full bid.
proposal. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, if you
Yeah, I'd
would,
like a copy of the full proposal.
Yeah, I could see if the ones that Dr. Carver sent, if I'm able to take them and resend them, because if they're big, I might have to send them one at a time or something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how
Or
to
just give me
send
the
them.
page to find.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah, if you just send a link or something,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll deal with that.
because I know that the RFP, all the questions and the addendums and all of that is at the town website under announcements or something like that.
Mhm.
But also, I thought I saw them at the procurement committee page under the first meetings that were set up when we were supposed to receive bids, over a month ago. And then that got canceled, but all that stuff was there. So I was able to click on them and open them and read them.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Yeah.
I saw some. but I
Not all.
couldn't- Yeah, that's what it seems.
Right. Well, I'll have to check once I can't do it.
Yeah, no, it's not, there's no.
But I'll check and see what I can find, and then hopefully Jen, you can check and make sure they're at the shared drive and that people can access them. Anything, so Jen's gonna send out a few days for people to say, yeah, I can meet then, and hopefully you guys can get something together soon. I mean, we're looking at coming up on a long weekend, and then, so hopefully sometime next week we can put something together for everybody.
Sounds good.
I don't think I have any invoices. And as I said, Melanie, Attorney O'Brien is working with STV to get the wording in the contracts to be what the town needs.
Good.
So hopefully we'll have something from you, everybody at the next meeting, and y'all can send it on to the board of selectmen.
Sounds like fun to me.
All right, so the only thing we have left, so I don't know, Mark or Michael or Jen, if you have anything else on the HVAC, if you want to bring up. Otherwise, we're going to move on to the last item, which doesn't include you, but you can stick around for it anyways.
Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Michael.
See you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Yep, take care.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
guys.
Yep, good night. Our last, is the municipal center locker room renovation. And I know that Attorney O'Brien had been in contact with Peter Eckert on his proposal, and because his proposal kind of like has a whole bunch of stuff in it, but we're really only working on the first couple of things right now. So she wanted to make sure that that's it. So she was going to ask him to be a little more specific. And then I forgot to ask her she had called me about the HVAC stuff. But I forgot to ask her where she was with Peter. So, I don't know where we are with that. We want to get that moving as soon as we can. And move forward, because we want to get some stuff in place so that there might be a steep grant available in the fall. We'll be ready for it.
Good.
So I think that might be it. Anything anybody else can think of? So again, you're running the meeting next week,
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Next week I'm
September
around,
11th.
sort of around, and the week after I'm away, so it'll be harder to be in touch with me. I'll try to make sure everything's in place before I
Cool intruders.
go away.
You don't, like,
Next week late, and then going to Canada. Let's not say that. I'm defective. All right, so.
I'm making motion, we adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Done.
So you remain one.